All right, next on the list, Luke, is this version of my TerryCaster model. The story behind the TerryCaster was this. Personally, I consider the Fender Telecaster to be one of the most perfect designs made. Very little room for improvement there, so I didn't really want to address it for many years. But one weekend, after I spent a whole weekend in my recording studio just listening to my favorite records that featured Fender Telecasters, I realized that one of the things I loved about the way that a Tele sounds on a record is the way that the high end was changed by the analog recording chain. You know, the mic preamp, the mic, the mastering, the tape, all those things that you're so familiar with, rounded it off in such a way that really sat in the mix in things like the old Buck Owens records, even the first Led Zeppelin record, and everything in between. Just had this pleasing sound on the Tele that came from the Tele, the player of course, and the analog tape, the console, just smoothing off the high end. That gave me my in, and I wanted to start prototyping a guitar that dealt with the Telecaster. The result was the TerryCaster. This is like the second or maybe the third one I ever made, and after the prototypes, and it's quite unique for the model because it has a lacewood top. It's the only one I've ever made with a lacewood top, and it's just a beautiful wood to look at, to listen to. It's somewhat hard to work with. Carving it smooth is very challenging, but we got there. We have a one-piece swamp ash back, and also a one-piece solid East Indian rosewood neck. On top of that neck we have an East Indian rosewood fretboard, and as you can see, this one received one of my vine inlays. I wish we could really zoom in, but you'd have to see this in person, because when I do inlays like this, I like people to notice that there's almost no glue filler or anything. The inlay work is really tight, and that's something we take a lot of pride in. This is one of my 25th anniversary models, and you can see some of them on my website. These were introduced to celebrate my 25th year in the business. I'm now entering my 34th year full-time. This is the only thing I've ever done for a living is build guitars. So here's the TerryCaster. This particular one has a Seymour Duncan custom shop mini humbucker that is a direct copy of the older Gibson mini humbucker. And the bridge pickup is custom made for me by Peter Florence here in Pennsylvania, USA. I work with Peter a lot these days on custom pickups. A little tour of the controls before we play. We have the master volume control, a master tone control, and then a circuit that I developed specifically for this guitar. It's a passive mid-range control. Richard tells me, Luke, that you're interested in recording, so you're probably very familiar with the vintage Pultec EQ unit that's so valued these days for good reason. What I did, Luke, was listening to these recordings of the Telecasters that weekend. I decided that I was going to study the circuit of a Pultec. I was going to borrow part of that circuit, build it specifically for a guitar, and the result is very useful. No batteries or anything. But enough of that. Here's the bridge pickup. Now there's a lot of twang there. I don't know if you can really hear it on the mic, you know, on the camera, but there's twang. But it's got a little bit of a rounded off top to it. Let me demo the mid-range control for a minute, because this is a possible aftermarket product. It could be manufactured for installation in many, many guitars. In fact, it could be built into a simple foot switch, you know, foot switchable box. No batteries. What it does, when it's parked in the middle, it's not doing anything. As we roll it from 5 to 10, you're going to hear the mid-range come forward. know if you can hear that on the camera. It was pretty obvious here. From 5 to 0, the mid-range is dipped. Until when you get down to zero, if you run this direct through a console or into a real hi-fi, like acoustic guitar amp, it almost sounds like an acoustic guitar. This amp's a little dirty and raunchy and mid-rangey to really show that off. So it's very useful control. On neck pickup. Whoops. That's TerryCaster.